You have download directories, and it's noted by app IDs. You can find this, it's all public information. 220 is now marked for downloading. That's an example from a log entry. And here we can tell that at this time, Half-Life 2 had started downloading. Now we looked at the World of Warcraft trial. What to look for, connection logs. You can find a lot about the user, what realm they play on, their character name, stuff like that. A lot of gamer info. Now, WoW has a official site that maintains all this character information. It's called their Armory. We'll get into that in a second. Again, the same data exists. Those are the locations. Here's your connection log. Here you can see when this person connected, where they connected to, and for how long they were connected to it. It's all there. It's all easily readable. And you know, I'm not saying you should go out and delete these logs. They may assist you. They may, just be litter on your system. But it's there, and for a forensic investigator, it may be useful. WoW gamer information. Again, WoW Armory. This is another public venue for you to be able to gather information as to what this user's doing. In the install path, it's going to have the account name, the character name. So you can go to wowarmory.com, wowarmory.com, and search that name, and you're going to see this general character activity. You're going to see what achievements they just got, what time they got them. It's all there. It's all publicly accessible, very much like Steam. So if you need to corroborate evidence and timelines, it's all there. Other notes on WoW, Warden, anti-cheat, it's there to, again, very curious to call it, very spacious to call it spyware, but I mean, it's as much spyware as Norton is. Rootkit.com, somebody reversed it. They did a really great write-up. I highly recommend you go read it. They do have two-factor authentication, which is something that was interesting. This was a nice little bit that I learned. I didn't realize they were even offering this for video games anymore. You can do two-factor authentication. So for an optional fee, they can provide you a token that will generate a PIN, very much like an RSA token that you may have at work. So when you log on, let's say somebody compromises your account with maybe a keylogger, something like that. They won't be able to log on unless they have that token. So that's kind of the point of two-factor, right? Battle.net, earlier I had to note that it's going to extend to StarCraft 2 and Diablo 3, but StarCraft 2 is already out. Didn't really have time to make a write-up on it, but go StarCraft. Game settings and user configs. Now, what's really interesting, this is just kind of off the wall, not really forensic related, they all validate with hashes. So your video game, your configuration file, if you try to go in and edit manually, it's going to give you a give you a checksum error and say, no, this isn't right, don't do this. So that's another option. Wrapping it up, constant development on engines and games. MMOs, I didn't really touch a lot. Again, World of Warcraft, barely scratched it. There's a lot of MMOs out there. They have a really long development, long life cycle. Everquest. That's been around for, it's been around for a long time. And they're still coming out with service packs. I mean, I remember, well over a decade ago, people were ranting and raving about Everquest. And I guess people still play it. Big name publishers, they have a very strong commitment to security, but they also have a very strong commitment not to release documentation on their platforms. So if you wanted to get some really good technical information, like about the Warden, about the Valve anti-cheat client, it's just simply you're not going to get it. The information that exists all comes from, you guys, the hacker community. Modern big name publishers, again, not a lot to begin with. All the subscription stuff, for personal information, it's all handled server side. So you're not going to find credit card numbers stored on the system. You're not going to find, username and password stored on the system unless, somebody has a plain text file saying my WoW account login information. And lastly, not much documentation, proprietary code and all that fun stuff. And it went a lot quicker than I thought. If you're going to sell your console, wipe the drive. It's not that hard. Or if somebody's like, hey, I'd like to buy your Xbox 360, don't give them a hard drive. You can buy their own hard drive. It's not that expensive. Well, comparatively speaking, it really isn't. In the not too distant future, these type of logs may be used in a criminal investigation. They may be used to defend you, they may be used to convict you. It depends on really what the case is. And again, like I said, a log entry, all that proves is a particular action took place at a particular time. If you need to tie it back to a particular user, you're going to need a little bit more than just a log entry in general. So it would be an aggregate of things. 7th gen consoles are maintained and updated consistently. The moment you see like an exploit release, like the GeoHoff thing for the PS3, the next day there's a patch out to fix it. Same thing with the Wii. The moment, like not the moment, but as soon as they can come out with an exploit to get access to the OS, there's a patch out to fix it. And they're really good about making sure they maintain these patches. If you want to play online with your PS3, you're going to have the latest patch. Same thing with the 360. If you want to play online, if you want to use your thing, you're going to have the latest updates. And again, for a forensic investigation, if you're going to look at a console, the first thing you should really do is just turn it on. Plug it in, look at it, bring up a controller. If you have a copy of Modern Warfare, fire it up. And then go through and, if you're looking for pictures, it's all very intuitive. These things are designed to be easy for, 12-year-olds to navigate. So it should be fair enough or easy enough for an investigator to kind of do their thing. Game servers can add a lot to an investigation. Again, keep out for the logs, and it can tell you a lot about what was going on that system during the time frame of a particular compromise. If you're trying to determine what happened on the system, even if it's more or less outside the scope of your investigation, if you're trying to determine a credit card data breach occurred, it's likely that the attackers didn't install a Counter-Strike server. But again, it's good information to have for just about anything or any point you're trying to make. Newer PC games, much better at security. DRM, nobody likes DRM. That's kind of what Steam is, right? It's just a big DRM client. But they're very good at it. And they're very good about, and the reason is because nobody likes cheaters. Well, not everybody. But in general, back in the day, Counter-Strike, old school, there was a lot of cheating. And it was very easy to do. I mean, anybody with, a modicum of experience could just easily go through with an aimbot and, own an entire server. They got a lot of people upset, hence we developed VAC, and it's only being developed more and more. It's getting a lot harder to cheat in these online games. Same thing with, bots for World of Warcraft. Sure, you can run a bot, go out and do your thing. Somebody made an example, I think it was an episode of Law and Order, where their defense was, well, I was playing World of Warcraft at the time, look at the logs. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, but lo and behold, they were using a bot. Well, if you're a forensic investigator and you miss a bot, you should probably find a new line of work. And I guess that's pretty much it. Just a couple of shout outs, Spider Labs, a couple of friends, and this guy, the anonymous friend on PS3. So if anybody wants a copy of these slides, I think my contact information is in the is somewhere out there on the thing. Worst comes to worst, you can ask me in the Q&A room, and I can shoot it off to you. Because I took out a lot of information that was in the slide on the DVD. I go through step by step on the PDF as to how to go about, taking apart your hard drive. There's a lot more images, there's a lot more details, a lot more narrative. Here, kind of broke it down, and I think that's really early, aren't we? Yeah. C'est la vie. So yeah, questions? Yes. The 360 is really good at that. I mean, like I said, there's really no file system security on it at all. I mean, if you want to just go through and troll through the partition directories, if you want to open it up and let's say Explorer 360, it's there. I mean, you'll be able to find it, or you can find file system artifacts in let's say an unallocated space. But let's say for the PS3, not a lot. If you do have, I do believe there's various media center applications you can use for, like, let's say the PS3, and you can stream movies using this application through your PS3. Now, like I said, if you look at the hard drive, not going to see a lot, but if you do look at the PS3 media center, you're going to see, I do believe they maintain a kind of a backlog of what was in the buffer, what was run, what was being done. But then again, like I said, if you're investigating somebody's PC, there's a lot of other places to get information. But yeah, you can find that information on some systems. Not so much.
Well, and I know, just as a side note, observing when my PS3 that aged, if I put in a DVD, I stop it, they'll take it out, put it back in, and it starts in the same place. So remembering that, I don't know exactly what the criteria is, but if I leave it out for long enough, if I put enough other stuff in it, it forgets.
Yeah. It's unfortunate too. I mean, the PS3 really is a sophisticated piece of hardware. I mean, I'm not trying to gush, but it's really awesome. Yeah. It's a shame there's really no documentation, and they're really a stickler for this encryption that's on there. Like, I gave the example about the hard drives. It's easy to replace. If you were to take a hard drive out of one PS3 and put it into another, it's going to ask you to format it and reinstall. So that tells you that these encryption keys are unique per device, which is, wow, really? Whereas the Wii, it's on the thing, it's on the hard drive itself. Like I said, it's theorized that these decryption keys for the hard drive exist in one of the SPEs on the cell processor. But as far as what's on the PS3, I really wish I could go into more detail as to how it works, because I would love that information. If there's any developers out here who work on the Sony PS3, I'd love to pick your brain. No hands. But yeah, I really wish there was more documentation. If we could go through, and the system was a little more open-ended. And after taking away the other OS support as well, I don't know if I took all that out of the slides or not, but originally I kind of had a bit of a rant about it. I mean, what other system takes away features from its users? Some people bought these systems for the explicit use of, like, hey, I want to install Linux on my PS3, and now you can't do it if you want to, maintain a PS3 as well. I think there's a class action against that now. Anybody join in on that? No.
I don't know about full out, but what I heard, I can't give any references or substantiate this at all, but what I heard basically was they were still selling the PS3 to loss like most of them do sell consoles, and people were buying it to make computers.
Yeah, I've actually heard about that. I heard the government had bought a whole bunch of these things that are using for password cracking, because it's a cell processor. I mean, what is it good at? It's good at crunching numbers. I mean,
that was the justification I heard.
yeah. And again, like I said, I can't substantiate it either. I mean, all that's really kind of hearsay, right? But yeah, I mean, like they're pretty powerful machines. You can do a lot with them. Again, I just wish the PS3 is a little more open. Any other questions?
Just a statement, I guess. It seems as with, especially around multiplayer games, as it becomes harder and harder to cheat, combined with the social aspects of some of these games, like who their friends are, when they're online, and all that stuff, you might be able to combine those two things to make it look like other people are cheating. They get kicked off the system, their competitors or whatever. That might be, I guess, another kind of form of cheating almost.
Well, like you said, like you made a good point. MMOs anymore, these online RPGs, they're a lot of people. Well, from what I understand, they love it because it's a big social thing. I know I was a huge WoW nerd for a long time. I recently quit the addiction, so I mean, people love the social aspect. It's there. I guess you could do that. I mean, it's not entirely impossible. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, as I know, like, for example, World of Warcraft, the only reason I mention it is because they've got, 11, 12 million users worldwide? Some ridiculous number. So it's I guess it's possible. I mean, if you can compromise somebody's account, or if you could really get together with, like, the other social network, or the rest of their social network, it's quite possible to do that, I imagine, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, no? All right, I guess if there's any other Q&A, it'll be in Capri, room 105, 106. Follow the sign. Thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.